Hello, everyone. I'm Adam Bradford with D&D Beyond. Welcome to the development update and community Q&A session. We're going to jump right in, as always, with latest updates. I have a new encounter tracker teaser that adds a little bit more to the mix for you to see today, where you can start to see what we're targeting with the encounter tracker. So we're really excited about where that is heading and what that's going to mean for the game, in fact. And so I'm going to show off a little bit more of that in a little while. We have a data update. We had some tweeting this week by some folks out there. I actually saw this one come up twice. So we're going to talk about characters in campaigns and what that spread actually is for like levels. And you're going to see a very easy to see picture of where most play is happening here on D&D Beyond. And then we'll talk upcoming. And then, of course, as always, ask me anything. So let's talk about our latest updates. We are WIP, work in progress, on our D&D player-based mobile app with character sheet. We're starting to see more and more of this come together. I will certainly have some more news for you in Q1 of next year on this one. We did add on the encounter builder. So we were having some problems. I don't know how many of you own a Galaxy S9 or higher out there. I know that that is a very popular phone. We were having some problems with some scrolling on the S9 in the encounter builder on our mobile views. And so we actually, we call them love handles. So we added some love handles to the encounter monster block now, and it's a little thing on the end. So that is the only area that you can actually, press and then or click, and then you can drag from there. And so that makes it a lot easier to understand what is draggable, what is not, and it allows scrolling to work on S9s and higher on the Galaxy side of things. So hopefully that is going to make life a lot easier for a lot of people out there that use those devices. We are working on encounter tracking. I'm going to show another demo of that in just a little while. Digital dice rolling. We've been talking about this, and it's getting really close to something that I think we could potentially alpha with our subscribers. So keep an eye out for that. And then book releases. So we did put out a couple of new products over the last week, and that is Mordenkaine's Fiendish Folio. I'm gonna have to look this up. So it's the new Extra Life thing. So yeah, it is Mordenkaine's Fiendish Folio Volume 1. So we have that up, and that does benefit Extra Life. So it is a great cause. So go pick that up today. And then we also have added the Infernal Machine Rebuild product there as well. So you can take a look at both of those. And what is really cool about those two products is we've been talking a little bit about our easy button book release efforts that have been going on. And I am very happy to share that with these efforts. So we've been doing that for the last month or so. I previously told you that in order to release a book that comes from Wizards of the Coast, we did this big analysis of 2019, where our development time was going. And we saw that over half of our time was going towards adapting and reacting to Wizards of the Coast books as they were coming out. And so just where everybody is aware, we've talked about this before, but we get these books, somewhere in the neighborhood of 4 to 6 weeks earlier than the release date. And what we were finding was it was taking about 2 weeks of time for a couple of our developers and team members to do the actual releasing process. And that is just setting it up to be ready for the marketplace, making sure it makes its way onto menus where you can access it, all of those kind of activities. Now, that's not counting some of the actual digitization word that I just made up, which is taking it from an InDesign file, turning it into HTML, doing all the tool tipping and cross-linking and all those things that go into that. So that is a separate content management team. So earlier in the year, we worked on a lot of things that made that part of the process easier. but we still had this 2 week kind of period where it took 10 days essentially for us to get everything ready for us to sell. So as you can imagine, for smaller products in particular, like the Mordenkainene's Fiendish Folio Volume 1, this was a pretty big tax that we were having to pay. So we underwent some effort to try to automate some of those parts of that process to make it to where when we hit 2020, hopefully we're not going to see a repeat performance where over half the time is being used to just simply release books. And we are theoretically hoping to have more time to focus on new features and some of the other things that we want to do. So I can say that this was a pilot for a lot of that automation that we've been working on. And it was a really, really great showing because we reduced that couple of weeks period over about 10 days to somewhere in the neighborhood of 2 to 3 hours, which is really, really good. And so very proud of the team for pulling this off. But again, this is all behind the curtain and under the hood kind of stuff that I'm talking to you about. It's not very exciting to you probably, but I do want you to be aware of, sometimes we need to spend time on housekeeping activities like this in order to be able to do some of the other things more efficiently that you do care about and some of the things that you're going to see in 2020. So very proud of the team for what's been accomplished here. I think that we had a spreadsheet of like 80 something tasks that used to have to be done, and that's been reduced by more than half. So automation really, really has helped with that. And we were able to see that with those 2 releases that just happened. Another thing was those releases typically had to be 1 or 2 of our employees were the only ones that knew how to do this process. And we had someone entirely new hit the button and release these books this week. He's someone that you might have seen acting like he was at a hand on the forums from long ago when we started this whole thing. So Avi was able to hit the button and it all worked. And I think we even have, I'm pretty sure that we're going to have our office manager at some point just release a book just to say that we made this easy for anyone to be able to do it. So again, big victory here. Might not seem too exciting to you, but very big victory for us. And it's going to help us a lot as we go into 2020. All right, let's take a look at a video now to make sure that I can see this. So Jonathan, if we can pull that up. So yeah, this is the encounter tracker and some of the concepts that we're starting to come into. As you saw last time, you're going to be able to add in your campaigns into this. You'll be able to record initiative. Over time, this is where we want to prompt players for initiative, and they'll be able to digitally roll that, or you can just auto roll the whole thing. So, variety of things that you can do there. This one is going to show off that we are going to allow you to track conditions. So you'll see those in a moment. So you can add another thing, you can add quick characters on the fly. So if somebody enters the combat, or if another guard down the way is alerted and the dungeon master wasn't quite prepared for that, you can add that in ad hoc to the initiative order. You can also add conditions as you're seeing here. So we're going to poison this poor orc, and we have the interval and the number of rounds that this is going to happen, and you'll see that that is going to be displayed on that character. So again, I think it's just looping back through here. We'll let you see it one more time. This is what we're starting to work on, starting to put together. This is also, again, over time, because the moment I say something like this, everyone's going to expect it to be done immediately, and it's just not how it works. But over time, this is where we would also want, in addition to things like conditions that have durations, for you to be able to automatically activate rage from your sheet, for instance, and that would know that that happened, and it would come here onto the into the tracker, and it would track the duration of that rage over the 10 rounds of the rage. So all of that is starting to come together, and we hope to be able to dive pretty deeply into that as we get into 2020. All right, back to Data update is what we're going to do now. Data update. So we got to ask about characters in campaigns on D&D Beyond. What was the level spread? So is it true what everyone who makes the game tries to say, that we only see low level play for the most part? And I think that you're going to see that those people that make the game are definitely know what they're talking about because we see this on D&D Beyond. We see it virtually everywhere that there is data about any of this stuff. That lower level play is more popular. There's a lot of that makes sense just from the standpoint of, if you do start at first level, there's just going to be more low level characters and low level play. But the amount of campaigns that are playing at those higher levels, even on D&D Beyond with our, I wish I could remember how many characters we have now, 30 million or something. I want to say it is a lot of characters. All right. So we have millions and millions of characters on D&D Beyond at this point in time. So we've got very large data sets that we see, hundreds of thousands of campaigns, and ultimately across this, you do see that lower level characters are by far what we see the most of in campaigns. Now, this is not necessarily saying that 0% of campaigns have 16th, 17th, 18th, and 19th level characters, but it is saying that that is 0.00 whatever of the hundreds of thousands of campaigns we have out there, and it's rounding up. So there are 18th level characters in campaigns, because somebody out there is going to say, wait a minute, I am an 18th level character in a campaign. I'm ultimately just sharing this at the highest of levels, that you're certainly in the minority if you do have high level play going on D&D Beyond. So mostly lower level play is what we see. All right, so let's talk upcoming. We are really making a big push when we come back from our break. So want everybody to know, it's at the bottom of this list here too. Recharging batteries. We're about to hit a holiday break. Tomorrow is the last day our office is even open. I'm not here tomorrow. A lot of people are going to be out today. And we're also going to see that we are not going to really come back into the office proper until January 6th. So we're going to be off for a really nice break here. The team deserves it. They've been working really hard. I'm glad that they're going to be able to have this time to recharge the batteries. But once we come back, hitting the ground really hard on class feature variants, we've been talking through solution. We believe that we've come up with a solution that's going to work as best as we can make it work in a scenario where this is unfinished development. So it is, I would say, highly likely at this point. And again, this is just me as a fan saying this. I do not have any clarity from Wizards of the Coast on this, but as a fan, I think it's highly likely that class feature variants and what we were presented with in the Unearthed Arcana is going to change before it sees publishing, if it sees publishing. And so we've had to be very careful that we don't introduce things that are going to mess with the core data of the game, and importantly, the core data of your characters, that then has to be revoked if it needs to be revoked, i.e. they're not going to go forward with this concept, or anything else like that. So we're trying to do the best that we can to take care that this is not a destructive process when we have to make changes throughout on this kind of thing. We feel like we've come up with a very good solution for this. We're going to be able to hit the ground running as soon as we come back from the break and start working on this. With the encounter builder, this says done, which I think, again, transparently here, we did think this was going to be done before today, but then once we released it to production, something's not working quite right. So I imagine that this is something that you'll be seeing anytime now, which is you will be able, in the My Encounter screen, to filter and sort by campaign. So that's going to help a whole lot when you're trying to group your encounters by campaign. So if that's not in now, it wasn't quite in yesterday. If it's not in now, it will be in at some point soon, Might be just after the break, but either way, it is going to be in very soon. Sapphire Dragon supplement. So if you spent the money on the anniversary Wizards of the Coast Level Up Partnership dice, you would have received the Sapphire Dragon, kind of a supplement that is part of that. So it's the full stats for the Sapphire Dragon. It's some new artwork that is really, really beautiful. That is actually going to be for sale on D&D Beyond on January the 6th. That's our target. If something goes wrong, we'll have to give you an update, but that's our target for that to be for sale then. That is also something that's going to benefit Extra Life as well. And then we are going to be introducing Apple authentication. This is a requirement for us to offer this in order for our apps to be able to continue to be on the Apple App Store. But it's also something that, you know, we're just going to offer in general. So if that is your cup of tea, then you can you would be able to use that in the future. And then, as I mentioned before, we are going to take a nice holiday break here.